Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
And hello, everyone out in Tomball, Texas. Welcome to the BOF podcast, episode 211. That's right, back-to-back shows. I have hijacked this mother, and I'm not letting go right now. That's it. I got a stranglehold on it, and I'm gonna see if I can make it a trifecta. See if I can do 3 shows in a row, and then we'll see if Bill kicks me out. But we'll see what happens. But today I got speaking of threes, I got three people total here because we're going to talk 3 possible endings of The Flash, and I've got a great cast of characters here for us today. But first of all, let me just introduce my one of my little, I guess my Batman Compañera. That's what John Sterling would say about Susan Waldman. Ryan Haas, you know, you're pretty much like my BOF podcast sidekick. I've got Holzman for Straight Outta Gotham. I've got a cast of characters for the Spider-Man show. But you kind of, you know, and then me and Lauer got the Batman comic books, but the BOF show, you're kind of you're like my little buddy here.
Yeah, I guess I'm your Robin or Nightwing or something. I've been trying to. I'm just
you know, Azrael?
as a senior BOF contributor. Yeah, I'm trying to just pop in where I'm needed and when I can. And it feels like the podcast is needed. The OG BOF podcast has needed some of my presence lately. So I've been happy.
So
to
you're
join
Dick
in.
Grayson, Robin. You got trunks and pixie boots. That's what you are.
No, well, maybe.
Yeah, because you're an OG. We're going back. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, back then when you were consistent, you were a roundtabler. Remember that?
That's true.
BOF
I was the
roundtable.
host, son. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You were like the perfect. If BOF was a company, you would have been the intern. Like you've evolved. You've reviewed Robin comic books by going to the store right before they gave out the digital previews.
Mm-hmm.
From
to
roundtabler to podcast host, now to your numbers retired in the rafters.
That's true. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But it's fun. It's the fun part where I can just I just opt in when I think it's fun. So people seem to like that.
Well, we got a special guest. Why don't you intro our special guest here?
Yes, we have a special guest, and this is my doing. I invited this gentleman on to the show. I've been wanting to get him on for a while. And I should have asked how he wanted to be introduced, so I didn't do that. So I'll let him correct me if I mess up in the introduction. But we've got Cade Onder on the show, who is a video game writer for comicbook.com and also a co-host of the Post Cred Pod on Twitter. So I think I'll just have Cade kind of introduce himself and his works, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about actually how we met, because we met in person. Before we each knew who the other were, like normal people. This kind of thing is normally like you meet internet people, then you meet on the internet and then meet in person, but we actually did the opposite, and it's all Batman related, so it's a pretty fun story.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, yes, everything you said was accurate. So no need to correct anything. So what year was that? That would have been 2019.
2019.
2019. In 2019, I think it was like April or March. They did was it for like the 80th anniversary of Batman?
Anniversary, yeah.
Yeah, they had 70 millimeter IMAX screenings around the country for the Dark Knight trilogy, and
Nice.
I live in Iowa, where we just don't get anything cool like that. So I had to drive to Indiana for that, which was like a 7-8 hour drive.
Oh wow!
And
it was an 8-hour drive for me too, going from North Carolina to Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I just tweeted like a picture of like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. This is really cool. And I may have used a hashtag or something. I don't know, but you found it. Like we were not following each other whatsoever, and you're just like, oh, me too. Like that's so cool. Like I'm probably sitting really close by to you. And then I was like, oh, that's super cool. And then, you work in the industry and stuff, so there was already mutual interest there. So we just met in the lobby, talked, and it was really cool. I mean, the whole night was really cool. There was a little
Twitter
kid.
brought you guys together.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I went to the screening, and I knew I had to do it, and it was one of those things where I'm like, oh man, it's the 80th anniversary of Batman, and I've seen some of the other movies, in IMAX, but this just felt like a too good to be true. And that I've seen movies at that Indiana State Museum before, in the true film IMAX before, but this felt like something I just had to do because I had the special Nolan introduction and things like that. So I just went and it was like a week or two after the Bowling Green's BGSU Batman conference that I also went to. So I did like 2 giant Batman things within a 2 or 3 week period. And yes, I was there by myself and everything. I was just like, man, there's got to be, who else is here? Nobody I know is here. And so, I tweeted about it on my end, and I just started searching like, who else is here? And then that's where I found you. But it's cool because it just kind of snowballed into this thing where it's like, oh, I'm in the video game industry. You're a writer. You're a journalist for video game websites, and you're only like 19 at the time. I think, right?
Yeah.
So like
18,
you're like, they're like super early in your career, but now, I mean, it's been kind of fun after that, following you on social media to see like your work ethic and your trajectory here. I mean, you've just gone from the websites you were at, and now you're doing stuff for Comic Book and covering games and
your own
games
games
events.
too.
And like he's it's been a crazy thing. Yeah. So where he's for the listeners, most of the listeners know that listen with any regularity that I'm a VFX artist in the game industry. But I work at Volition, and we so it was kind of crazy to be like, Cade's like, I'm doing previews of the game you're working on. It's kind of crazy.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I check out Cade's Twitter for his chicken tender reviews.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
I think all the BOF guys probably
Yeah.
found out about Cade through me because I started following him, and then you get like the auto,
the mutuals on
the mutual you liked, and like, who is this guy? I'm like, he's awesome. He like talks about chicken tenders and like video games.
He's like, Batman in video games is great. Like, okay,
yeah. So
sounds like a person I want to be friends with.
But it's felt like I've ever since I met Cade and we've had all that the mutual connection there. I'm like, I've got to get him on the podcast for some reason, and it just turned out to be like random.
So
good time.
Before we get into it, the nitty gritty here, just Cade, you have seen The Flash, correct? What did you think of the movie?
Oh, I did not like that movie.
Okay, so you didn't like the movie. All right, that's interesting.
Why don't we?
Okay.
So could you on the spot answer like? Normally, a question would be like, "What's your favorite Batman movie?" or "What's your top 3?" or something like that. I think it would be really easy just to be like, "Oh, of course, the Dark Knight trilogy. That's 3 movies." But I think you've seen lots of Batman movies.
Seen all of them,
yeah. So, what if you gave us like because just to quickly get the listeners down with like what your perspective is or your on some of the movies. What would give us like your top 3 Batman movies, but the catch is that they all have to be from different iterations.
Okay, sure. Do they have to be in order, or can I just say
go from 3, 2, 1?
Okay, that's even harder.
Like, come on the spot.
This is like on the spot, like ranking. I know we used to do that.
No. I would say 3 Batman Returns, I think, is really solid. I really like that movie.
This kid's got taste.
I really like that movie. The 1989 Batman was like the first Batman movie I ever watched, and I was really young when I watched it. And I remember I had come home from this like sleep therapy thing. I was like a weird kid where I couldn't sleep, and it was like 4 a.m, and my mom's like, just watch this because like I'm going to bed and I'm not staying up with you, so just put this on. And I was like, all right, sweet. Put that on. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I watched Batman Returns like a week later and was like, this is amazing. And I was terrified as a kid, but it
was great.
has stuck with me over the years as something I really, really love. God, I really love all the Nolan Batman movies, so it's hard to pick which one is my favorite. Especially every day, I think it changes.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises is probably the one I rewatch the most.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
I really like that fucking movie.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You got three Rises
gorgeous.
stands on the show, so
like the Dark Knight's probably a better movie, but if I'm gonna put one on, I'm probably putting on the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
And then I think number one is probably the Batman. I really like Robert Pattinson as Batman, and I've always talked about how he does a really good job as Bruce Wayne of like capturing this like he has like this stunted growth where he was like frozen as like a child, right? Where like he has this like slumped look.
Okay,
he doesn't know how to do anything but like be Batman.
Yeah,
exactly. And there's this scene. I think it's right after he kind of learns the truth about his parents and Falcone's involvement in that whole thing, and he goes to the club. Early in the movie, we see him as Batman barging into the club, and now he's there in the rain as Bruce Wayne, and he just like slumped over. He's looking down. He looks like a scared little boy, like really sad and broken and fragile. And I was like, this guy is the best. Like, I really love this. So
no, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
No arguments here.
Nice.
We got a pretty, usually I say we'd have a very overview if we actually have a pretty eclectic taste of what our favorite Batman films is. We get labeled specifically one way or another because no one actually pays attention. But if you listen to the cast of characters, I love that you picked Batman Returns.
I love that movie.
I love me. Haas knows. I love Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Yeah. What's interesting is like all three of those picks that you have, I think are really, they kind of speak to each other in a way because all three of those are very, very thematically, they might not all fit what people might say are like the definitive Batman takes or whatever, but they are all three of those very strong visions of their directors, of their takes on the character, and they are executed very well, and they are telling the story that those filmmakers really wanted to tell.
Absolutely.
So I think that's pretty interesting, and it's really cool at this point that we have that many examples of Batman films that do that.
Yeah, and like I like other Batmans. Like I love Ben Affleck as Batman. He never got his own solo movie.
He never got his own solo movie. So
so I can't really include him. I mean, unless you want to count Batman vs Superman, but I probably still wouldn't put it in my top 3. But I really like him as Batman, and I'm very sad we never got his Batman movie.
I was actually just looking through Twitter the other day, and I came across his. I have it bookmarked, his tweet of Deathstroke, and I was like, "Oh, I remember that."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I had a chuckle. I was like, "Oh my god!" I remember how hyped I was. I remember exactly where I was that day. So
I remember that too. I was literally in a hospital bed.
Oh my god!
I remember seeing it on my phone and was like resuscitated back to life. I mean, I wasn't in like critical condition in any means, but I was like,
blood transfusion. Who needs that?
Exactly. Exactly.
We're gonna get Batman vs Deathstroke here.
I was so excited.
Get me out of here.
But hey, we never got that. But we also never got like 2 of these other endings here. Like going back to the topic at hand. Now that we got like Cade's like Batman take here, I think this is an interesting topic because personally, I dig the movie. I'm a big fan of this movie. I like this movie. I've only seen it twice in theaters because I've actually had fun at the movie. I was just telling Haas, I've actually had fun at the movies this summer, unlike everybody else in the world. I went to Indiana Jones. It was a blast. I just came out of Transformers. I thought I had a great time. I was like, Spider-Verse was great. I was like, The Flash was fun. I was like, what is wrong with the rest of the world? Because I'm having so much fun at the movies and no one's going and everyone like hates what they see. So I was like, I guess they just like shit, but I don't know what else to say. But to find out that at some point, because of all the regime changes and everything that goes crazy, that over at the water tower, like, let's be honest, like it's it's a tabloid over there. Like everything and anything is possible, and everything changes daily. So you don't really, and it's hard to keep track. So at like one point you had the original Hamada ending, which no one believed. Haas, remember that? Like he didn't have a plan, but Hamada had this Keaton continuing on, Supergirl replaces Cavill, multiverse, Crisis on Infinite Earths type thing. So that's one ending. Then you get the second ending with the in between regime of DeLuca and Abdi, which was Keaton still replaces Affleck. You got Cavill at the end with Sasha as Supergirl and Superman,
and
Wonder Woman is somehow involved in the ending. And then the third ending, of course, is Handsome George walking out, and that's the theatrical ending. And I think it would be fantastic to talk about these three endings, what they could possibly be, what we think would have been best, and just kind of basically just shoot the shit about it. Because it fascinates me that this movie had three possible endings, and I still think the ending they chose was executed pretty well. But I still think everything else would have worked. But I just want to talk about some guys. So like, I just want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, what if Cade, can you tell us like what because you just said like you didn't like the Flash that much. Most of us here at BOF have it in the B range. So it wasn't like slam dunk and it wasn't like it's garbage. Like we all thought it was pretty good, but the things we thought were pretty good were different than we all differed on what that pretty good mixture actually was. So I'm curious, like, what do you think of the movie overall? And maybe like, do you think any of these endings would really move the needle for you?
I thought like the first half of the movie was really strong. I think everything up until they probably break Supergirl out was like pretty good. Like as soon as they start to get to Michael Keaton, I was like, okay, you're losing me a little bit here. Not because of him necessarily, but just something with the pacing and the direction of the story was like not working for me as much anymore. And then as soon as they break her out and she goes to the desert to watch Zod do his thing, and then she's like, oh, I've changed my mind. Like I couldn't run with that. I don't know what's going on anymore. This is weird. And but all of the stuff with his mom was very wonderful, and I really loved that. And the conclusion they bring to that arc was great. And Michael Keaton is a joy to watch, and seeing him like we've had all these different Batmans of like different power levels, right? With like Christian Bale, he's the grounded Batman where you're only going to see him fight guys who just lift weights all day, right? Like that's his level of like intensity. And then we've had Ben Affleck who's fighting Superman, and the question's always been like, what would Michael Keaton look like? Where would he fit into this kind of spectrum? And seeing him use his like intellect rather than just pure strength and being able to like bounce around and do all these cool things was really fun to watch. And I think they found that balance to convince me that what is he, 70 something now, that he could still hold his own against all these guys. And I don't question it. Was great. But yeah, I just feel like the movie gets really muddled at the end. And I do think it's because of these regime changes, not necessarily the last 5 minutes of the movie, but like the entire third act just gets like super clusterfucky. And
I mean, yeah, I could totally see where someone can get in there and meddle with it. You know, the movie allows itself for that, because who knows what other cameos or whatnot could have been in that, you know, in that ending of the movie. You know, it just, by the nature of the story, I just think it does allow itself. And you just look back and you're like, God damn, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think like there is a good version that probably like a really good version that has existed of this movie at some point, whether it just be in a script form or something that they did shoot and put together. I don't know, but it's really unfortunate that Warner Brothers has been such a disaster for the last 10 years. Maybe that's even putting it generously.
No, it's 10 years. It's basically right after everything since Rises. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's everything since Rises.
Yeah. So yeah. And they haven't been able to have a coherent vision, which means every movie, every step of the way has been fucked with in some shape or form. Some have been able to salvage something, some have not. And this one, I think, is the ultimate like Frankenstein's monster, where we have multiple regime changes, a different universe coming in, trying to wrap up the last one, and it's just too much on a 2.5 hour movie. That
it's
really
like the
had no
universe
intention of
that
doing this.
trying to reset to change mid-production, and they had to fix it.
That's why I'm all about the theatrical ending. Because it's like, it's done. It's deaded. Like, me personally, I enjoyed it. I had a kick out of it. Like, I thought it was just like a true DC fan's like dream. Like, for me, I'm watching everything from Spider Superman and those reasons and everything. Like, I had a blast with it. You know, like that stuff really got to me. And it's just like I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying the movie for like what it is, but at the same time, like I know that this is the end. Like I saw it coming 2 movies ago, you know, and for me, it's just like, well, I'm here for the finale. Like I'm here for the big spectacle, which was the ending. And that's why I think instead of doing what I think WB has done for the last 10 years, which is just put duct tape on leaks. They just that's it. They wrapped it. There you go. You got your multiverse. We got 3 Batmen in one movie. You know, you want to play it off as Bruce Wayne's, but like we played with, you know, our lineage and our history. And that was, you know, that's kind of the only angle that they had if they want to do this multiverse stuff, right? And it just, I don't know why it didn't resonate with people, but like maybe it is because it is the finale, because this stuff's not continuing. I just feel like in order to try to make it continue would have been even worse, because that's what they've been doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The ending that they used is probably the best possible ending, because I think if they had just released it and just been like, hey, Henry Cavill's here, and it's just like more salt in the wound, right? It's just like, so to just be like, we're just gonna shoot something else, we're gonna throw in something that's a nice little surprise, and this is the little closed off part of the universe, and we already know a multiverse exists, so like if they really want to pull all of that back up, they totally can. I don't think they ever will, but I think the ending they went with for the way that things are going to go is the right ending.
Yeah, 100%.
Is it the best ending for like if the DC universe were to continue in this iteration? Probably not. I would have loved to see Henry Cavill again, but
it wasn't even for me. It's not. It's the Batman angle. I wasn't sold on Keaton being like the you know, the leader of the Justice League at such an older age. You know, like I was never sold on that. Like I mean, if that's what they're going to make, then, you know, I'll support it until I see it and I think it sucks. But you know, but like if I got no control over it, that's they're the ones making the movies. Like I could just, even support it so much.
Yeah, I mean, they said that in the movie though, at least to support it. Like he's like the master strategist. We need a Batman. The Justice League needs a Batman. That second one is the wildest one to me, where
with Superman and Supergirl.
With Superman and Supergirl and Wonder Woman and Keaton, you know, that would just be the wildest thing for me to see. The movie trying to tell us like, well, Ben Affleck's Batman's gone, but you've got a Supergirl and a Superman, and everyone else is here, including like, it's like, oh, that Batman he's Batman now, and it always was, and Barry's the only one that knows any different, and that is like the giant like have your cake and eat it too moment, where they're just like, and the Hollywood Reporter article described it pretty well, where they were really trying to hedge their bets with it, with like, well, we teed Superman up in Black Adam, so we might as well put him in this.
Imagine how weird
we're trying to make it all work.
You could tell like he's like a green screen walk in a Black
Adam. Yeah,
like
movie. That one probably was like in whatever cut they showed was probably like the exact same ending one, but then they just like, you know, Barry does this, huh? Henry Cavill, Wonder Woman, or like he looks and they're just like standing off screen in the distance. They're all there. Yeah,
it's interesting. I actually thought the movie was going to have more of some sort of big finale than it kind of did. To kind of, I guess I went in there just too fanboy, thinking that this somehow was going to establish what I was going to see going forward in the future, and it really wasn't. It just was kind of like a love letter to what.
I think they said like slightly suggested that could happen, and then that just didn't.
I feel like they're saying everything they're saying is like, yeah, this like, Blue Beetle's attached to the new universe. It's like that's not going to work. You're just saying that because you're afraid it's failing. Like, I don't know. It's again, I think including ending is the best ending, because I was never sold on Old Man Keaton's.
Yeah, if we didn't know about the other endings, I would have thought, oh, well, that was their plan the whole time, and
Sure.
everything. And to the movie's credit, everything leading up to that supports it. The whole spaghetti scene makes that ending make sense.
There's rumors that like that's why he knows so much about the multiverses, because originally the plan was to kind of like he's kind of done this before. Like I've read rumors online about that stuff, which I find interesting.
And I just hope that like they
I'm like,
probably
man,
don't.
Hamada's plan is really deep.
Yeah, like I mean, I hope they put as much of that stuff on the Blu-ray as possible. I doubt that they do, because they don't want to give people's hopes up of like, it's this could still happen or whatever. But like, it's not going anywhere. Just give us all the stuff,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd rather see it than not.
The only thing we got from like Zack Snyder's Justice League before they actually made that was that scene of Superman in like with the pods and all that, and like it still wasn't even, I don't think, like the actual one from Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Correct.
So it was like
it was from like an extended version of the Joss Whedon cut.
Yeah.
So
but they did the scene with him and Alfred. They released that on the DVD.
That was on the DVD. That was on the home.
That's
video.
right.
Home
Yeah.
video release. That was also, and then they
Superman
made
in the correct suit.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you guys want more like finality to Ben Affleck's Batman? Because he literally just fucks off.
Yes, I did. First I wanted more finality to Michael Keaton's Batman. I mean, he dies in the movie, but I thought my first viewing, I thought, okay, well, he's coming back. I know he's coming back because I saw the set photos, and they were gonna do Batgirl, so like. Yeah. He exists still, right? And then like they close the book on it really unceremoniously, because it's really played as like the way everything ends feeds
that
into
has
like
to be a reshoot, by the way.
Well, it is, but it feeds into the dark comedy vibes of the movie too, where it's just part of the storytelling. But as someone who really cares about like those versions of the characters, I was like, oh well, I guess it's. Keaton's Batman does get an ending, but I wanted to see more. And as far as Affleck, it was always touted as like his fun way to segue out of the role and things like that. Plus, you have the heritage of Flashpoint ending on a very poignant Bruce Wayne, Batman, Barry Allen note. And you have a scene that sets that up with Ben Affleck and Barry Allen, with Bruce and Barry at the beginning, and it does get paid off with Keaton's Batman echoing that same line of dialogue. But I still thought like, whoa, maybe are we going to get like a good Affleck thing? And we still know that kind of could also have been paid off in one of those endings if they were going to lead up to Crisis on Infinite Earths. We heard rumors months ago, like. Then there was going to be a post-credit scene of like Affleck.
Affleck was really lost in the multiverse.
Like we had all these little, if you were an Affleck fan, you could have gotten more Affleck. If you were a Keaton fan, the original ending had more Keaton. But now it's no Affleck, no Keaton, no Supergirl, no Superman, no Wonder Woman. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't trade, because like, it's great, we got Clooney and all that, but at what cost? I was just ending one made the most sense on paper, I'm sure, because I'm sure they wanted, the universe dies, but hey, damn, we got rid of our brand new Supergirl, and Keaton's Batman's dead too, and at least they got to have them back. I mean, it all kind of works at the end, but man, it makes me.
We all should have saw it coming months ago. I mean, or even as soon as Batgirl was canceled, that was the first domino to fall, and that was the end of the Keaton. Right, like you just, if he's not coming back for, which is basically a sequel, right? Like the events just spin right out. So there's no help. And then Sasha, I don't think she has a chance with the new Supergirl movie. I think they're going to go with their own people.
But by the time
there's always regime change. They always go with their own actors or actors and directors and whatnot. So I'm very curious. Is there a Muschietti cut? Is this really his story, or was he director for hire? Like, this movie's fascinating because I'm not really sure. Like, it was his
story because he was the one that was able to wrangle it out of development hell after he was the only one that Warner Brothers was able to actually put enough trust in to get the thing off the ground enough to shoot. But then he had
Did they want to do Flashpoint before they hired him?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if we ever really. I'm sure there were all kinds of rumors, but I mean, there were 45 different people attached to this movie at various points. You know,
I never thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, the game night. We had the Famuyiwa, and then before that, you had the game night and Dungeons Dragons.
Even before that, you had Lawyer.
Yeah, and that was as early as like 2006 or something. Like, yeah. So yeah, I think Muschietti was that, and the multiverse thing came around the same time. I think. Yeah.
It is interesting though that after scrapping all these endings and kind of just like removing all the cameos at the end and just having it be someone who's not connected to the current DC universe, they have Aquaman in a post-credit scene. And so it's just kind of like, so if you can do that, why? I don't get it.
That was their weird.
The only thing I can think of for that is just to say, hey, we're still connected here. This is still the Aquaman.
Since Aquaman 2 is going to happen, and
because remember,
was that this year?
They flip flopped.
Yeah, because the Flash was supposed to come out before Aquaman, and now that's not the case. Mm-hmm. But it still needs to make sense. It was their way of saying, like, to be explicitly clear, Aquaman's still coming. Jason Momoa is still Aquaman. Not only that, that guy is Aquaman in every universe, even though there's different, Batmans. Which is funny.
We know that's not true because Smallville exists somewhere, right?
Well, yeah, but in terms of on film, like because they even. James Gunn's also already said things that kind of say that, like, he didn't say like, oh, Jason Momoa might be Lobo or whatever, but he just say like he's Aquaman. He's always Aquaman, right?
Yeah, that whole thing is very confusing to me.
It's very confusing.
We haven't seen a single frame of that movie yet for some reason, which is crazy to me.
It seems like everything outside of Peacemaker and Waller are going to be like new. I just feel like, right? Like, that's the only thing that's going to survive the Gunn change, in my opinion.
Probably, yeah.
Hey, y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor.
So, I don't know. That would make for a fascinating.
Well, then again, like, it's not the we had the post-credit scene in Shazam Fear of the Gods that also got changed as a result of this thing. I don't think they filmed their original plan, but their original plan got messed up, like adjusted because
what was the original plan for Shazam? I don't remember.
The two characters that were going to show up, or the two characters that did show up were the two characters from
Harcourt
Peacemaker.
And Diebeard from Peacemaker.
Right. But who was supposed to be there? Cyclone and Hawkman, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because and they had the same dialogue, right? Because they're just like, we want to get you into the Justice Society, which was the characters from Black Adam. Yeah.
What a mess.
It's that's a movie that itself went through regime changes. At one point, The Rock thought he was going to run the show, and then everything happened. And DeLuca and Abdi caved in and gave him Superman at the end. Oh my God!
Even that movie. That movie's like got three movies and three post-credit scenes that go through regime changes and actually don't mean anything.
Were you guys? This is the first time a live-action Batman has died, right? I can't think.
Did he die, or did the universe die before he died? Like, how does that work? Does he just?
Oh, he was dead.
He's dead. He dies. Yeah,
he died, and then the universe.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
Yeah,
but he pretty much like bleeds out or whatever. Has his final breath on screen.
Oh yeah,
that's the first time that's ever happened, as far as I can think of.
Rises technically, right?
Yeah, Batman. Yeah, as a symbol dies. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, what that was for me at least a little underwhelming for that to be the first time that's ever happened.
And for me too, I mean, it's like it's a feel bad, right? It's like they killed my hero, they killed Batman.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring him back.
I don't know. I mean, it was though, like that. I feel like
a hero. He didn't live long enough to see himself become villain, at least, right?
A good death is its own reward. Like, I'm surprised that wasn't said at some point during the movie.
Yeah, but the lines they used were very poignant. They made sense. It was cool. It was a nice tie up. It gave him even though I said this on our main review show. Like, I hate that he died, but at least he did have an arc. His arc made sense. Mm-hmm. It worked in the movie, but yeah, damn it! Like, I love that Michael Keaton Batman, and I didn't want him to go away.
Yeah.
For me, again, it's just like a significant of like, this is it, this is over. Like, you know, this world wasn't actually supposed to happen. It's supposed to, you know, I feel like
but the whole
Miguel
but
O'Hara
that's the
in like
thing.
Spider-Verse, it's an anomaly.
Well, it's a kind of repeat too of like in Rises, right? It plays with your heartstrings. Where you're like, oh shit, like Batman died, and then you get that elation at the end where you're like, no, but he's not, he didn't. Joking, we're just joking, and that they were going to do that in the Flash. Like you got the feels from Batman and Supergirl dying, and at the end you're like, oh great, they're back. Let's get to work. You know, that was going to be Keaton's line. It's like, you ready to get to work, right? Like, great, we're back. We got a plan. Yeah. Like they're back. And we didn't get that.
I always expected, and maybe this is just because I heard a rumor about this one time and like I just assumed it was true, but I always assumed Affleck was going to die and that was going to motivate Barry to do what he does to go back in time instead of the mom thing, which I don't think was at least anything that they shot would have ever made sense given the whole movie centers around his mom. But I feel like that would have been a better like way to send off Affleck, maybe a good catalyst for the story since we know the kind of relationship they have and all that stuff. I don't know.
Oh yeah, we on our show last week, a lot of people have been trying to figure out like having like, well, would X or Y have worked better, or like something like that, or some people have been saying like maybe they should have like even leaned even more heavily into Flashpoint and had straight up Thomas Wayne be the Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman and things like that. But I think a lot. After having reread Flashpoint last week for that show, it does feel like, in a way, a lot of the things that happen in the Flash kind of happen almost just so it can kind of maintain the Flashpoint structure where it didn't really need to. Where it's like oh, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Things like they really trying to recreate like Barry, like, you know, getting his powers back and he lost his powers and the universe reset stuff. And some of the things, you know, in the I mean, it toes the line between homage and, we have to do this because that's what happens in Flashpoint.
Okay.
You know,
I never felt that while watching. I watched it. I thought it was a decent interpretation.
I did too. Overall, I did too. But then you start to poke holes in it, and you know, I feel like it's weirdly similar about this movie to like Indiana Jones 5, where it's like I enjoyed what we got, but the more I think about it, I don't want to judge these movies on not being what I wanted, but I do. The more I think about the movies, the more I'm like, they could have done this, they could have done that, they could have done. I wonder if I would have liked it more if they did.
Like a straight up page for page Flashpoint.
No. Like they didn't kill Batman. They didn't like if I wonder if they just left, used another ending or didn't kill, you know, or came up with another ending.
Is it jarring for you because it's a different actor at the end? Because
no,
it's Batman, you know, like it's supposed to be like, well, this never
because
happened,
it is because
right?
the unresolved, because even though the ending we got with Clooney is cool and it works, there are still enough dangling threads that I wish were tied up. Like, oh, I wish we could have acknowledged, like, damn, we erased Ben Affleck's Batman, didn't we? You know, damn, we really aren't going to see that Supergirl and, you know, the Keaton Batman. I just wanted more. You know, if this really is like,
you want like comic book tie-ins?
Well, no, more like knowing that this was going to be the end of the DCEU as we know it. I would have probably, as a DCEU fan or a DC fan overall, I'm like, I would have liked more of a Return of the King, Lord of the Rings-esque, like, you know, 10 minutes of wrap-up scenes, you know, like really wrap it up and show me everything. Like super fan. You've already done the crazy fan service. Now just keep going. But they would have been making a film at that point for like 2 people.
Let's say the MCU tried to do something like this. Let's say the MCU comes to an end. Just imagine what that's going to be like. Because you mentioned, like you said, you as a DCEU fan, well, Ryan, there's not that many of you out there. Like you're talking to them. Like that's it. The people.
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine if Marvel decided to reset the universe and have this gigantic event with cameos and all this other jazz? Like,
I mean, they low key are. Like they kind of have been.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a reboot would mean like
a whole, not like a significant like one movie. This is the end of this time.
It's kind of what Endgame was to some extent, not literally erasing the timeline, but it is
the end of the MCU as you know it.
Yeah.
That's a valid point. Yeah, it's just.
And I think the audience, the GA, like that mystical GA general audience, I think people knew that.
Well, they cared about that stuff.
And they cared about it, yeah.
10 years.
And they were able to that longevity moment, they made it 2 movies. So they knew. And it's interesting, we're getting that kind of setup now with other franchises. Like we've got Fast X, which might be a 3-part thing. We're getting, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1 and Part 2.
I saw that.
So people ahead of time know these things are they're gonna end, so you better. And audiences like endings. There's a reason why you see an uptick with people for things like Endgame or that final Harry Potter movie or Rises. It was able to maintain that giant box office.
I'm actually very curious to see what Deadpool 3 does.
Well, there you exactly,
because it's very multiverse, and you heard today Garner's coming back, so that was announced.
No, really?
Yeah.
Did you really miss this?
I did.
Yeah,
I've been playing Zelda all day.
No,
back as Electra.
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter was like, Jennifer Garner's coming back as Electra.
Oh my god!
But here's the thing: like, does anyone care about Jennifer Garner's Electra? No one came back for Michael Keaton.
A lot of people told me they care for some fucking reason. I'm like, I don't believe you. You would not have asked for this.
That's the same level as being like, Harry's back as Catwoman, guys. Like,
oh god, please! No. Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't get a cameo in The Flash.
Who?
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy because there is something to be said, I think, about like the now that legacy sequels are not this. This is like the world we live in now. It's not. Oh my god, it's cool. It's just like this is how movies are made now, kind of thing. So
everyone's got. I'm waiting for like a multivers Jurassic Park movie.
Well,
that's kind of what
we already had that, man.
Was,
yeah.
I didn't see the last one. Oh god,
that's what it was.
For the best.
That's what it was. They've already done that, but it's just like
no.
It's just like it felt kind of like maybe we were 5 to 10 years too late for the Keaton return, right? Whereas
that's what I said. Like if No Way Home happened, like. I'm very curious to what it would do in a time where people are not going out to the movies.
Well, like that's why No Way Home was like perfectly positioned with the MCU that on a third movie with Tom Holland, who the current fans already loved, and that was enough. It was like the perfect moment to bring the other two.
Because I find it so interesting that the Keaton fan base, like, or I don't even know, like. You can't find a Keaton collectible on a store shelf, or like, and it's hard to find them online. But like, no one went to go and see the movie. But I couldn't
even buy the Amazon McFarlane Keaton 2-pack minutes after it went up for sale. Even after you texted me, you're like, "It's up for sale," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll buy it." And then Amazon was like, "No."
I totally misjudged the popularity.
And they did too. They did too.
Or what? But that was also kind of like mad at fandom at one point too. I was like, how do you guys like the first Dark and Serious Batman makes a comeback and no one goes to get pumped out about this? Like fanboys love reading reprints and trade paperbacks, and everyone goes back to the old stuff all the time. And then they finally do a comic booky thing, and it's done decently by DC. And no one goes to see it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this boggles my mind because I don't understand it.
Yeah, like for as interest. I mean, it's like the Flash does so much for like DC as a fandom, as a property from so many angles compared to, I don't know, what would the last DC movie that really had that level of conviction to it? Like maybe since BVS, that was actually that was made and came out and was like, hey, we're doing something really interesting here. But yeah, I think, but it's like, it's its own fault. It's because of BVS that we got to where we are too, in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, go on, Cade. You were saying something.
It's so unfortunate that this many years on, that movie is still affecting things. Like, but for whatever you feel about Batman versus Superman, it's not bad enough to have this kind of fucking shadow over anything. Like, it's just not.
I'm with you, man. I'm totally surprised that BVS has had this level of like effect so many years later, so many movies later, so many shifts, just tones later. Like, from you look at Shazam and it's totally either Shazam movie, it's totally different than BVS, Birds of Prey. You know, Wonder Woman. Even
it's interesting because like it's that thing where they really swung for the fences with BVS, and a lot of these things nowadays we're seeing this crazy stuff with the box office where it's like they really tried to reboot this, but nobody saw it, so it doesn't matter anymore or whatever.
Yeah, Terminator. They tried it twice.
Right, exactly. Right, huge Terminator reboots and nobody gave a crap.
Back-to-back movies, and nobody knew.
But BVS is like the opposite, where it came out, people were it made a crap ton of money in the first couple weeks, and then so that's where it feels like, hey, because that's a lot of people did see that one, and then it started to go down.
That's what really still gives me hope, because like before everyone saw it, tickets were bought, people were there, there was hype. Batman, Superman, like people were really into it, and then they saw it, they didn't like it. But even like with a Batman movie in between, it's like it still has enough. There's this still uphill battle for them. That like, that's why I still think the Clooney ending is the best ending for the Flash. Dead it. It's done. This is it. If you've got to do a hard cut to make it an ending, then you do a hard cut, and I think that's what they had to do.
Yeah, if the Flash was a super success, or whether the Flash was a super successful movie
best
or
case
a
scenario
super
was
bomb,
that movie was a super success, and they had to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. That ending was better for any scenario that happened. Yeah. Because if Flash was great, they'd be like, oh well, we're a multiverse. We'll just bring whichever Batman can do it next, like whatever, you know. But now that it's a huge bomb, like they're like, well, it's a good thing we wrapped it up. So.
And another thing is, remember, for years, everyone on Twitter thought they were a big shot, saying that a Michael Keaton Batman Beyond is a no-brainer slam dunk. And I just say, we were all dead wrong. I don't know if anyone's going to show up for like Batman with training wheels, Bruce Wayne, Terry McGinnis, if they wouldn't show up for Keaton to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's really surprising to me still, but
it is. Not to make everyone else sound old, but like those movies are like a generation apart at this point. Maybe 2 generations apart.
Not only that, but you don't want to know how old Batman Beyond itself is? It's like 23, 24 years old itself. So,
and it's never had like Batman Beyond at this point on TV. It's just been
Batman Beyond is so niche, but I feel like that maybe Keaton's Batman doing a interpretive film version of Batman Beyond isn't the way to go with it.
It really started to get really rumbling when Blade Runner 2049 came out, because people kind of got like, old man Ford's back.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. You know what though? I think like
no one showed up for that movie either.
That's true. Yeah, that's what happened with the original Blade Runner also.
And
I think they do
movies you ever watch.
They ought to just take a cue from Spider-Verse and do the Batman Beyond version of that. Like do a really good like prestige animated CG version of Batman Beyond.
I've said this for years. They should have just dope. Paramount did this thing Transformer style. Just make the movies. Just go. Just keep. This one failed. Make another one. We'll see what happens. Just keep making them, because
the train doesn't stop.
Yeah, because to be honest with you, I just came out of
that's what the MCU's felt like though.
And I'm like, I had fun with it, and I'm like, you know what? Like, yeah. Last night,
they stopped the Transformers train for a few years to get back to
they did, but they figured it out. You know, like that's what I'm saying. You know, like last night, I still don't know what the hell happened last night, but it does. Like, between Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast, I'm good. Like I'm having fun. Like
yeah,
just I'm glad they haven't given up, but I'm wondering like, does it look like it's a little too late? Like I don't know. Like Is this genre? Are you pump the brakes a little bit?
You're bringing up an interesting point with Transformers. Is like they just didn't stop. Like they didn't think about their mistakes, which maybe isn't a good thing at all times. But like they just trusted Michael Bay to do his thing, and some of them were successes, some of them were like, but like if they hadn't like pumped the brakes so hard on BVS and just been like, we gotta stop everything, we gotta cancel this Justice League Part 2, and we gotta rewrite Justice League Part 1 right now, even though that movie's about to start shooting in a few weeks. We
That was
gotta
crazy,
start.
yeah.
I mean, they literally started freaking the fuck out. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I know that the box office drop off for BVS was like pretty steep, and I know the budget was high, but it still made almost $1 billion. Like it was like 800 something million. So I'm like,
they would kill for that these days, right?
I know,
Like,
exactly. So it's like there was demand. They just needed to make. They just need to do a little bit better. They didn't have to completely rewrite the whole history of this universe that they were trying to build out.
Definitely should have pumped the brakes after BVS. Justice League was definitely too close around the corner.
Oh, I agree with that. Like they shouldn't have like done Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League, but like I don't know. I don't think the way they went about it was also the right way.
Haas has got millions of opinions on this topic. I know he does.
I agree with that. I mean, but they were like, as soon as they, I think Bill would even say this, like as soon as they decide, as soon as somebody said, hey, you know what we should do for our Superman sequel? Put Batman in it. They were screwed at that point. Like it was like, that was the decision that tanked the whole thing. You know, it's like they just should have done their own thing, made Man of Steel 2, you know, and just kept going.
They should have done what they did with Kong and Godzilla, to be honest with you.
But did that do great? You know, like,
well,
we're getting more.
Right?
I mean,
I think the first Godzilla movie was a huge hit, and the first Kong movie they said was a hit, and I don't think the second Godzilla, but they still like set it up though. You know, like that's what I'm talking about. Like it doesn't. I don't expect every movie to be a huge hit because I expect some movies to just kind of be like movies that fans like Black Adam. Like, you know, the story's not great, whatever, but it's if you just go in there looking to just munch on some popcorn, you have a good time with it. Like, you know, and like that's just I don't know. I feel like now everyone's expecting like it's just I hate the cinephiles, just the epic masterpiece bullshit.
Well, I think that's the
simile. Like,
I
I'm
think
so
that
tired
is
of
the
it.
I think that's the crux of like the theatrical experience right now, that everybody from film goers to filmmakers to studios are trying to figure out like what the hell, like what do we do these days, right? Like I think you talk about it a lot, Cade. Like I see like the things you're interested in or tweeting about online. It's just like what's going to do well, what gets people into the theater. And it feels like to me, and I've been thinking about this. It's just
apparently
like
not
what
like
is
the
it?
summer of the '80s? Because
To me, I don't know. Is it like a weird? Is it like not weird? But is it that combo of like quality and authenticity from the studio and the filmmaker, where you see movies like a Top Gun or the Batman or Avatar, where people are like, this deserves to be. This gets me into the theater. You know, like is it that like what? Or is it like budgets are out of control, crazy too? Like, and they just need to.
Well,
make
that's their
movies
own
for,
fault if that's a problem. Like, well, I don't know why they got to spend that much money.
Well, I mean, movies are kind of like we really shouldn't have to have this whole thing where it's like the movie industry shouldn't need. Boy, we've got to have. You know, Mission Impossible needs to do $1 billion to save the industry. Like every single movie that comes out shouldn't need to do amazing to save the industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like movies are kind of dealing with a weird, like its own problem on the same path as like AAA games. And I think Cade would have a lot to say about that too, because it's like player expectations for a AAA game create this weird feedback loop where the people that make the games have to spend longer and have to make the graphics better and budgets have to skyrocket, and games have been on this crazy trajectory for years. And so where it's like, you know, and really brand new games should cost like $100 because for how much they take to develop and stuff, but they don't. and it's just like a weird thing. And then I feel like it's have the same kind of deal with movies too, where it's kind of we're kind of in a weird rut with the quality and how things get made.
This is a saying that's been around for a long time, but everybody's a critic, right? Everyone, like, I hear the weirdest shit from people nowadays about movies and video games of just like, and there are great YouTubers out there, but I really do think it comes from someone latches onto a YouTuber they like, who maybe doesn't have the most well-informed opinions, or maybe the most honest opinions. Maybe they just want to shit on something. I don't know. And they're like, well, that's my guy. He's always right. And now I'm going to take that, and I'm going to, whether they regurgitate that opinion or they use that to inform their method of thinking, and they get their brain in a certain position. And that's how you end up with people who just like, again, I have a friend who just, I don't know what he watches, but the way he speaks, I'm like, you're getting this from somewhere. Like, and
we know some people like that.
It just feels like, I don't want to say dishonest, but it feels like you're not actually in the.
It's not your opinion.
Yeah, and you're not coming from a place of wanting to make a movie better with actual genuine like feedback or criticism or game or whatever. You're just, I don't know what the right term for it is, but it's just like everyone wants to have something to say, and not everyone is qualified to do that. Not saying everyone can have their own opinion, but there's a level at which people try to articulate to make themselves sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Oh my
they
goodness.
don't.
You're just sitting there, right click, like, looking up the thesaurus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
How can I say the same thing this person said, but with different words?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, my tweets were like, "This was awesome. Go see it."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
We love that.
I had so much fun with this. This is a blast. I saw Optimus Prime was voiced by Ron Perlman. It was epic. Like, that's it. I don't know, but that's it. Some people are just miserable on Twitter. Some people are just idiots on Twitter. That's it. The thing about Twitter that I learned is I just don't respond because it's not worth it. It's just not. I'll just text Hoss. Like, did you see what this idiot said?
That's the way these days, where it's just like, instead of don't reply, just copy it and send it to a buddy that will just LOL at it for you.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point.
Especially when around this time with this movie, because it's like everyone all of a sudden is a better screenwriter, a better director.
Oh my goodness!
They know more about the box office than anyone, and it's like, you don't know shit. You read Flashpoint 2 years ago.
Yeah. I don't want to hear somebody say, "Here's what I would have done to make this movie."
I love that.
Like,
I love that.
You're not. And I saw that with Indiana Jones today, where someone did this like video where they were pitching their idea for an Indiana Jones movie, and they're like, some guy comes in, he's like, I heard you went on all these crazy adventures, what happened? He's like, let me tell you about this one. It's like someone we've never seen before or whatever, and it's this whole story. And he says, okay, well, my son's picking me up, I gotta go. And Indiana Jones goes outside and his son is short round or something, and I'm just like,
oh my goodness,
we gotta stop. This is not better than Dial of Destiny. I have my own issues with that movie, but I think it's a
probably
fun
thinking
movie.
Like, this is like a Nolan ending.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my god. And
my only issue with Indiana Jones is I ran out of popcorn halfway through the movie.
It's a long movie. It is a long movie, and it is a popcorn-y movie.
I'm excited. I saw it. I did see it early, but I've seen it once at the Alamo, and the Alamo had their own special menu, so I was very excited about that. And I told Pete this, I found a nice like throwback theater in Chapel Hill that they only have like one screen and they only play one thing at a time, and they have like a really pared down menu, and it's like good popcorn and soda and no reserved seats. You have to show up and buy your ticket and see. I'm like, that I'm going to see Indiana Jones in that like tomorrow.
Sounds cool.
That sounds like the perfect thing, because I was like, ooh, I want to see it in IMAX. But as soon as I found this theater, I'm like, okay, no, that is the way to do that.
Yeah.
I had so much fun with that movie. I went home and I immediately put on Temple of Doom. Like I couldn't get enough.
I normally, I'm not the person that does the rewatch of everything before a new movie, but I did do that for Indiana Jones. It felt like that was required. especially because I fell asleep during Crystal Skull.
Well, it's a lot
I
easier to do with
never
Indiana
saw
Jones.
it
There's only like
after
4
that.
movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Like
And
your
there
MCU
only ever will
rewatch
be
before the
5.
next one. It's like you haven't even finished.
Gotta start
Like,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still doing my rewatch for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Like,
Oh my goodness! Did you ever see Wakanda Forever, Pete?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you did. Okay,
It was. It's not much,
but not Ant-Man.
Well, a well-made movie. I'll say that much about it. I have not seen Ant-Man. And I feel bad. That said, I'm pretty much caught up on everything. But I'm totally caught up. I've watched Gotham Knights the entire season.
Yep.
So we have to
The
plan
entire
that
series.
recap
You
show.
mean?
The entire series, the one and done series. And I've been catching up on Superman and Lois, which has really impressed me. I got 2 episodes left.
It's probably
Wow.
one of the most consistent, best superhero shows ever made.
To be brutally honest, I think this is the best Superman since probably Superman 2 overall.
Wow.
Probably. Probably.
Really? Like, and to be honest, like the Hoagland Superman has come so far from his, leather strapped shoulders, CW Supergirl cameos to, like you said, this season has elevated the show dramatically, but this show is something else, especially this season. They've gone places I didn't think they would go.
Yep.
So if you're not watching this, I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
Yep.
I've been defending the CW for years, and they finally got an A-lister on that network, so I'm really happy about it. So that's it. We've reached the hour mark, boys, and I don't feel like running laps, so we're going to end the show here because the old coach is he's gonna have a fit if it's over an hour and a half. So let's do some plugs. Cade, you are our guest, so why don't you kick us off here?
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter at Cade _Onder, CADE_ONDER, and writing about stuff at comicbook.com, bunch of video game stuff. I am tying this back to the beginning. I'm traveling to New York to see Oppenheimer in 70mm IMAX.
Oh,
I'm driving to Indy. Where are you? Yeah,
really? You're going to Indiana?
Yeah, I'm driving. I'm gonna do a road trip, and I'm gonna take my parents with me.
Nice
to see
that
a real
trailer,
film,
like that
on
is
real
intense.
film.
I'm
super
excited.
Seeing that trailer, I'm just like, okay, I owe it to Nolan. I've got to go see it. I gotta go see it.
You know what, man? Like, I kind of had similar feelings today seeing it before Rise of the Beast. I'm like, he's back. Nolan.
Nolan. I know.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's fucking like harrowing and like super cool and great. So I'm super excited. But yeah, I'm traveling to New York City to see it with my friend. The only problem is that I'm seeing it a week after it comes out, so I have to determine if I'm going to see it here before then, or if I just wait to get the whole experience. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's the IMAX thing, right? You're going to do the real film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. But
this is his first movie since Tenet, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be interesting because I feel like Tenet, everyone
first not with Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Because everyone's like, I don't know if I like Tenet. Like, I gotta watch. Like, everyone's like, I gotta watch it again. Everyone says that.
Our draft house here is showing it, so I'm gonna go see it in the theater. After I read the book.
I feel like I just gotta pull a Hoss and buy the steel book and just sit down and watch it.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about it, despite watching it like 6 times. Like, there are moments in this that really shine. There are some moments that I'm like, I don't know what you're doing here, man. But I appreciate going for it. Yeah, he's got balls.
I love Nolan because Holzman's just like, oh God, Nolan. I'm so like that. Holzman's dislike for Nolan intensifies my love. Like, it's like that's what happens when you have a co-host of a podcast. He hates something, you're just like, I love this. This is amazing. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, no.
Hoss, plug away.
Oh, yeah. Just follow me on Twitter, I guess, at SMB_Ryan.
I guess.
Follow my Super Mario Brothers the Movie Archive website. It's on Twitter at SMB Movie and SMBmovie.com. And I was on I've been talking Zelda a whole lot lately on these shows. I got to actually be a guest on the Chat of the Wild podcast. I don't think that episode is a Zelda podcast,
I assume?
It's a Zelda podcast, yes. And they're playing the new game slowly. So I got to do a little guest podcast. So if you find them on on Apple Podcasts. My guest spot might be up by the time this show is.
Now, is Link still the main character of Zelda?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. When I found out that his name was Link, it blew my mind. I was like, really? That's not Zelda.
Right.
As a little kid, as I played the gold cartridge, I thought Zelda was the main character. It wasn't until N64 that I realized his name was Link.
What? Or you could choose a name, but now you can't.
Okay. All right. Well, that's my Zelda story. You can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, whatever Jack Dorsey's cooking up on the internet, and Zack Snyder's favorite platform, Vero, at Pete Illustrated. You can follow my other podcasts that I do with Eric Holzman. That's Straight Outta Gotham at straight_O_G. There's a Facebook group and a Facebook fan page. Check that out. Check out my sort of podcast at Italians for Spidey on Twitter. At Team Yellow Oval, because we like the Flash movie and we like Michael Keaton, so we celebrate that. And I'm all over BatmanOnFilm.com, Batman on Film YouTube. So I got reviews of Detective Comics. If you've been reading them, God bless you, because I haven't been enjoying it. I must sound like a miserable prick while I write these and you read them. I usually like a lot of stuff. I don't like this stuff, so apparently I don't like everything. So that's it. This is this edition of the BOF podcast. This is episode 211, and thanks for watching. Remember, authoritative, definitive, but
Dadgum original. That's right.
That's right. Texas, baby. Woo!
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jet and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.